you can see the trajectory all throughout the Old Testament of God making his way to man.
Yeah.
Let me say it a different way. God chasing us into the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then here we are. We get to the New Testament. Here we are. And Jesus goes, you don't need this temple. That's me now.
That's me. Yes. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You don't need to set a temple up that has an inner holy of holy, everything in it. Once a year, and a priest can go in. You got to tie a rope to him and all. No, you don't need it. No. Like all of this was you trying to get back to God, and all of this also represented God chasing after you.
Right.
And guess what? There's a new covenant on the scene.
Well, it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas for 2 days here in Orlando. And I was wanting to sing, but then the weather forced us to stop singing because we were excited about this cold front that was coming through Central Florida. And, now, what did you say, it's going to be 80 on Monday?
And plus we're past Thanksgiving.
Yes.
It should be cold.
Yes.
It's not cold.
Yeah. But it's Christmas.
I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm just going to be nice.
It's Christmas,
I'm just going to drink my Christmas mug, my Christmas t-shirt.
Yes.
And I know Orlando's pretty even when it's 70 degrees outside.
I know, man. There was for a minute, did you see all of the weather channels talking about this cold front coming through Florida? And they actually had this little cold band around the peninsula. And so, I was super excited. And, I was bringing out all of the sweaters out of the garage. And now I have to put them back, And
or pick your times. Just pick your times.
But it is still beautiful, man. It's Christmas time, Brother Crow, here in Central Florida. And, regardless of the weather that doesn't feel like Christmas, it still is beautiful this time of year. And it's a great time to talk about, obviously, the arrival.
Advent season,
The arrival of the Messiah, man, Advent season. So I thought it'd be great, bro, if we just took some time and just kind of talk.
What's your favorite Christmas tree, real quick?
Okay,
I think we should do this.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Jesus.
Okay.
But you get the most unhealthy, not your wife makes it. You're walking through the grocery store, gas station.
Oh,
you know those Christmas trees, the Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes?
Dude, listen, let me tell you.
By the box, I can eat those.
Yes. Do you remember, Zingers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still do.
You have to explain that, though, for our younger audience.
Zingers is Zingers. Yeah, so they're like these little... I think
that means something now different
these
my.
Days. See, I try to have such a spiritual, pure mind, and I can't...
I'm not.
My pure mind for all of this,
You're the pastor, and I'm Cousin Eddie.
For all of this local sin and liberalism that's in our world today.
I'm Cousin Eddie.
You Cousin Eddie.
I'm out on the street in a mobile home in an RV.
Yes, well
there's a recreational vehicle, Clark. Now don't you get excited. We're taking it with us when we leave next month.
Every family has a Cousin Eddie, by the way. And if you don't have a Cousin Eddie, you think you don't have a cousin, you're lying. Everybody has a Cousin Eddie. But the Zingers were just like these little cakes. I love the yellow flavored ones. Yellow is not a flavor, but I guess it was then. But you had, the little cakes there, the little Zinger cakes. And so I would like those, man.
Is that a Christmas treat?
It's year round for me. You said if I can walk through the grocery store.
I'm talking about Christmas.
Oh, okay. Well, Christmas, I don't know, Brent.
Like the Little Debbie Christmas trees.
Yeah. I gotta think about that, man. But see, I know you said don't talk about what Quo does, but I like baked stuff.
I do too. All right.
So I got a new one.
If I'm gonna sit in my truck,
okay, I got a new one.
It's gonna be with a box of Little Debbie's.
Yeah. See, if I'm gonna sit in my truck
or my recreational.
I have a new love that I have, and it is a banana pudding pound cake. And and so that's my new love. And so if I can get there,
where do you get that?
Okay, so in Lake Eola, we found these ladies called Sister Harmony. Shout out to Sister Harmony. They're in Ocala. I've driven 2 hours to go get this, and they are two sisters that just bake whatever.
And they have like a bakery, a little.
No, they do this out their house. They do so.
How'd you end up at some lady's house?
No, I did not. I met her at the Wawa, by the way. I did. I'm not lying. I promise.
I met, first of all, what's their name again?
There is Sister Harmony.
So you met Sister Harmony at the Wawa.
With my wife.
You met Sister Harmony at the Wawa, and now you go buy cakes from Sister Harmony's house?
No. They live in Ocala.
Brian, am I the only one?
No, listen. Let me see. See how my pure mind gets twisted, ladies.
I'm sorry.
No.
After Thanksgiving, I'm Cousin Eddie.
Yes. No. Okay.
Sorry, Bishop. I'm Cousin Eddie.
This is funny. Okay, so let me back up. All right, so my wife and I, we love to go down to different food marketplaces.
Sure.
There is one at Lake Eola that they do every Sunday. And we met these ladies who have their, like, a little bakery that they do out of their homes, and they're called Sister Harmony.
Okay.
So it's two sisters. They bake amazing. So that's the first time we had the banana pudding pound cake. So what we said was like, because they only come to Lake Eola like once or twice a year, but we wanted the desserts often because they do red velvet cake, pistachio cake.
Yeah.
We love all of their desserts. So they live in Ocala, Florida area, which is about an hour and a half or so from Orlando. So what we would do is whenever we wanted something, I love you, bro. You are good.
I'm sorry.
You got me this time because now I really have this play. So if we wanted a special order, like the banana pudding pound cake, because that is my wife's favorite, then we would order from them. You can order online, and then they have a meetup spot. You know, you go somewhere and meet up. And so there is a Wawa.
That's where the Wawa comes in.
There's a Wawa gas station that's right off of 75 once you get into Ocala. And that's where we go, and so that's the meetup. So we don't go to their house, and so my wife and I together, you know, we.
I hear you, man. No accusation.
I just want to be clear. You know, I don't want people to, go and,
So here's what you do. You can go down on Pine Coal Road, and you can take your left by the dumpster, not the abandoned pickup truck. No. Go by the dumpster.
Oh my God.
Take a left. And then you're going to go down that road for a good bit, and you're going to come to an intersection. Now, don't worry. It's the only one with a red light in that part of the state. Oh, my
gosh. I am crying real
tears. You keep going on through that, you're going to see a Wawa about 10 miles down there on your right. Go to the Wawa. Yeah. And then you get out. Now, go to the cash register.
Oh, man.
Not the one with the girl that has a nose ring. Go to the other one. And you go, hey, I need to see the Sister Harmonies. They're going to give you a secret passcode.
Yes.
You drive another 5 miles down the road, turn down where there's the crooked fence and the bent over mailbox, and you're going to walk up to that, all right, and then you're going to knock on the door, and you're going to say, Wawa, and whatever the code is, and ask Sister Harmony for a pound cake.
Listen, man. You got me crying real tears on here, but you are cousin.
I'm sorry.
Listen, well, you
Jeff,
know
I'm the gift that keeps on giving all year.
Man, I'm not going to comment on any more of my back.
I wouldn't be any more
when you
surprised.
at the Wawa, you can get some, pizza too. They got a deli and stuff.
I wouldn't be more surprised if I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the floor.
So, all right. So that was my treat. What is yours? You said
Christmas cakes. I've already eaten 5 boxes of Christmas tree cakes in the trucks that are in that store.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Christmas season.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
There it is. Happy Christmas. That's what they say in England. Happy Christmas.
Yes, anyway. yes. Well, all right. So any other embarrassing questions you have for me?
No, I'm good now. We can talk about Advent season. It's Advent season.
It's Advent season, yes. So, when I'm not, Brent, buying cakes at Wawa.
You're not buying cakes from Wawa.
I'm meeting.
You're meeting Sister Harmony at
meeting
Wawa.
Sister Harmony at Wawa. So when my wife and I together are not.
I got you.
Meeting Sister Harmony.
Are y'all celebrating the Advent season?
We are celebrating.
Okay.
You totally got me. Oh, you got me, boy. Thank God for live podcasts.
Yes, sir.
And so Advent season.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're in a season that, is often celebrated, traditionally celebrated. At this time of year, for Protestants and Christians all across the world. And so, man, we thought it'd be great to just kind of talk through, Advent. What is it? Why is it important? And then, kind of the meanings behind the four pillars of Advent season. So we want to just kind of do that. I know for many of our listeners, you are right in the midst of Advent because we're actually going into week 2 of Advent season. Right? So we're
going into week 2. So you get 4 Sundays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's considered the Advent season. Yeah. Some people count the days. Some people count the Sundays. Yeah. Here's the beautiful thing about Advent, and this is what I love about it. Same thing with Lent. Yeah. The season before Easter. And the same thing with a lot of our traditions. If we're going to be honest, it's DIY. It's do it yourself.
Exactly.
It's you get to customize this thing around some really important ideas. And of course, the coming of the Messiah, the arrival of the Messiah. Right now I'm preaching. I'm very privileged, and I love doing it. Preaching Christmas is fun.
Yeah, man, it is.
You and I get asked to do a lot of things. We typically, as itinerant or parachurch guys, we don't do a ton of Christmas. Right. Just like we don't do a ton of Easter. Right. We're the Sunday after Easter. Because if you're a pastor,
that's the Super Bowl.
I can't think of any. That's a fun time.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes I get to do it. Sometimes you get to do it. Well, this year's one of those years for me. I'm sharing a tag team in a Christmas series at one of the churches we're privileged to serve, First Baptist Cleveland, Cleveland, Tennessee. Great church, man. Pastor Jordan Easley. So I'm doing his sermon series with him for the 4 Sundays leading to Christmas. Yeah. So he said, let's take the 4 divine titles in Isaiah 9:6.
Oh, that's so good.
And they wrote Advent devotionals. I love this. After I got done preaching the first week, because I'm doing part 1, part 2, he's doing 3 and 4. Yeah. After I got done the first week, in the lobby, they had for him, after all 4 services, an Advent box.
Oh, man.
1 per household for every house in their church. Yeah. And so, they
cool.
hear it, they hear me preach on the subject, and then I get to say, hey, your pastor's prepared, your staff's prepared a box for you guys that has a devotional in it. And so every family went home with their Advent devotional and a couple of things in it to do.
That's dope.
And that's how they've done it. The only reason I mention that is it's DIY. It's do it yourself. You get to determine what Advent sees, how you celebrate and really not celebrate. That's the wrong word. How you anticipate.
Yes, exactly.
Because the word Advent, it comes from a Latin word that means coming or awaiting a revival or arrival. It's the anticipation of something that's not on the scene yet. Yeah. And so it's a beautiful thing, this Advent season. And there's so many different ways to do it. And but the main thing is that you do it. Yeah. The main thing, and by the way, it's not a day, it's a season.
It's a season. Yeah.
And so the Advent season, and we're going to talk in part 2 of our little conversation here about Advent season about how we would celebrate, practically.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to do the what this week, the how next week.
Yeah.
But Advent, needless to say, is an incredibly important season, Christmas, Advent, in the history of the church.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think, again, we set the stage, and we know, obviously, we celebrate, we're in the Christmas season, which obviously we're celebrating, the birth of Jesus, the Messiah. And like you said, Brent, Advent is, that season. We're anticipating
for when we can celebrate.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about, and you've already did a great job of just really kind of setting up the word, what it means that word. It means it's the coming or the anticipating the arrival of, and we know that this Advent season in the Christian faith is that we're anticipating the arrival of the Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth, who will be born. And so when we think about this idea, of Advent, as believers, man, we do that. But, and it's not just us, but we know the Advent people from Protestant, Roman Catholic, Orthodox, they also have observed, and or been a part of the Advent celebration, and practices, and so.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does it bother you? Like every store I've been in this Christmas season, of course, here we are at the beginning of December. Depending on what house you live in, I mean, my wife's had Christmas decorated for 3 weeks now.
Yes, as she should.
And it's a cult, but whatever. And so
I'm a part of that cult.
But is it bother you when you walk into a store, whatever it is, and you see an Advent calendar for any? There's so many Advent calendars now.
There are.
They have nothing to do with Christianity.
Right.
They have nothing to do with the Messiah or Jesus. They're just Advent. It's just a countdown to. Basically, it's just a countdown to Christmas.
Yeah.
And they are technically, I guess, Advent calendars in that they're anticipating Christmas morning, but it's not. I mean, Advent has such a rich word in the history of our faith, and that's why I'm asking you that. Does that bother you?
It does, because the reason why Advent for me and for you, obviously, as a follower of Jesus, the reason why it is so significant, it is so important, it's so sacred, is because we're talking about the arrival of the Messiah, the birth of this,
and that's what the word's been attached to for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we know that this moment that we're anticipating will actually alter the course of history forever.
Yeah.
And so I think we should never nullify it, not talk about it, or attach it to just the
socks.
Or just Santa.
Yeah. I mean, I saw an Advent sock, a box,
Really?
Advent sock box, where it's a different pair of socks every day.
Really?
Leading to Chris, and they used the word Advent.
Huh.
I saw an Advent a game one where it was a different card game every day, and it used the word Advent.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, there's just you walk into any store, walk into what I almost said the mall, but you walk into any shopping area, and you're gonna see Advent stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really just a countdown to Christmas.
Yeah. That is.
And that's why I'm going. It just I'm not throwing shade on anybody, and I know, but it you and I are talking about this word and its rich tradition.
Yes.
Its sacred meaning.
Yes.
And of course, if you take the word by itself and put it over here, it does just mean coming, the arrival of something that you're going to celebrate.
But in our context, and
it's just been used for so long in our faith, it just feels like it's like, call it something else if it's socks.
Yeah, right.
Right,
yeah. Then, I mean, we talk about like the 12 days of Christmas or whatever.
Yeah,
then
do something like that.
Do something like that, and then you can have, on this day, we're going to wear, red socks. You know what I mean? Like on this day, we're going to have, whatever.
And we're not against that. I mean, I won't speak for you. I'm not.
I'm not.
We do
all.
fun traditions in our house every year. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not throwing shade on doing Christmassy fun, bake cookies and go do this tradition, see the lights. No,
absolutely.
I'm just saying that word.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. That's a good distinction, and I think for this conversation, that's our distinction. We're talking about Advent as it was originally intended, the arrival of the Messiah, and with that, the weeks leading up to Christmas, which is the culmination, and we talked about the birth of Christ. There are 4 pillars really that really symbolize, this Advent season symbolizes the arrival of Jesus. And so maybe as we talk about, that's a great lead up. We talk about the distinction of this particular sacred Advent. Let's talk about, Brent, maybe we talk about the candles, the 4 pillars of that, and the meaning of those particular 4 pillars that really are around, hope, peace, joy, and love. And so if you want, let's do that. Maybe that'd be good. And that way, as
and when
people,
you say candles, typically, and it is oftentimes done in a home, but it is oftentimes also done in churches on Sunday, where a family will light an Advent candle each Sunday, and so there's four. Candles.
Yes, sir.
And just like we're saying this about the Advent, the Jews are over there going, but candles are our thing. No, I'm just kidding. Why you gotta be taking candles, right, Christians? Like, that's our thing. That's our thing. You got Advent, we got candles. No, I'm just I got the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song and playing in my head. But no, I do think, and that's, so when you said candles, I just wanted to give a little context to that.
Yeah.
So here, when we say we're lighting those four candles, or if your church does that, or here is a one way, not the only way,
right,
but one way that has had a lot of traction throughout church history. And you're saying that the first week is hope, the second week is peace, the third week is joy, and the fourth week is love.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And so there is a progression, man. If you are, to your point, there's so many different ways you can celebrate it. Like as you were talking about with Pastor Jordan does at First Cleveland. I know how we would do it at our church here in Orlando. But if, for the sake of this conversation, if we were doing it centered around the candles, there are colors.
A color that corresponds.
That corresponds with that particular meaning. And the first one for week 1 is hope, and it is the purple candle, which is the prophet's candle, and it really talks about the promise that God has provided to us, that the fulfiller, the fulfiller of the prophecy, Jesus, the coming of the Messiah. And so this particular candle, this meaning, is the hope that we have as believers and Christians, to know that there was a moment when we go back in the beginning of time, when we know that sin entered into the world in Genesis chapter 3, when everything that was once beautiful from creation was now broken, and that we know that in the grand narrative of Scripture, we understand that Jesus is he is the one who came to redeem that which was broken. And we know that Jesus kind of tips his hand a little bit in John chapter 1, when he talks about the word becoming flesh and dwelling amongst us in 1:14. But this idea of hope, that purple candle, is really that we have hope that comes from God's action and the promises for humanity, that Jesus would be the fulfiller of.
Well, if hope is the first one, I want you to totally correct me, Jeff, if I'm off on this. To me, the hope that this idea of hope being the very first emphasis in the Advent season, the idea of that is the hope that God would be with us. And here's what I mean by this. I've oftentimes heard it preached, God saves us and then God is with us. And I don't think that's true.
No.
I think God is with us to save us. And in the beginning, he was with us. And then what happens? You have obviously the fall of mankind. You have Genesis 3. You have Adam and Eve kicked out of the garden. If you fast forward a little bit, you've got Moses, who sets up a temporary tabernacle, i.e. a tent of meetings, where he would meet to God face to face with a man, as a man meets with his friend. You get a little bit later on to the New Testament, when Jesus walks to the temple. The temple is basically the next stage of evolution of a tabernacle. And Jesus looks around and on the last night of the Feast of Harvest, which was also called the Feast of Tabernacles. There were 7 feasts in the kind of festivals, if you will, in the Jewish calendar year. The biggest one, the last one, was the feast that happened at harvest time, which was the Feast of Tabernacles. So sometimes it was called the Feast of Harvest, sometimes it was called the Feast of Tabernacles. And the idea was they would set up these makeshift things throughout the city that looked like something that reflected the time of wandering. But then they would celebrate in the temple area, because they were no longer wandering again. In the temple area, there was these beautiful candles and big precious metals lampstands that would hold the candles, so the light would reflect off one another Jesus is at the festival. He's there probably, most scholars think, on the last night, and everybody's in the courtyard, generations together, celebrating where they have come from, thousands of years of history, where they are. They have a homeland, and all this, and it's 1 in the morning, and everything's lit up with this. And Jesus walks in the middle of this, and he basically goes, "This is amazing, but I'm the light of the world."
Right.
And that those images, the tent of meeting, the temple, and then Jesus standing in the middle of the temple, show the progression of,
that's good.
God was once with us.
Yeah.
We ran away from God.
Right.
And you can see the trajectory all throughout the Old Testament of God making his way to man.
Yeah.
Let me say it a different way. God chasing us into the wilderness.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Yes.
We get to the New Testament. Here we are. We get to the Feast of Tabernacles.
Yeah.
Here we are. And Jesus goes, "You don't need this temple. I'm now. That's me now.
That's me. Yes.
You don't need to set a tent up outside of 2 million people, and Moses goes out there and he's the only one, and you don't need to set a temple up that has an inner holy of holy, everything, and then once a year, and a priest can go in. You got to tie a rope to him and all. No, you don't need it. No. Like all of this
is null and void.
Was you trying to get back to God, and all of this also represented God chasing after you.
Right.
And guess what? There's a new covenant on the scene.
Yeah.
And so. What is the hope?
Yeah.
The hope is God with us.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And so I think it's important and I'm glad that's where it starts, but I think it's important to start with hope.
Yeah, and I think that because we have that hope and that reminder. Well, let me say it this way. Because of that reminder, it is what give us hope, even in the midst of where we are in our lives, right? And so that we know that our hope is not found in things. Our hope is not found in status or stuff. Our hope is not found in what's going on in our culture and our world today. Our hope is found in Jesus.
Yeah, God with us.
God with us, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel,
And so I that is the starting point there.
But if you don't wait on it, if you don't, nobody appreciates something they never have to wait on.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Like, let's just break this down in a real practical way real quick. Like, even if you're only engaged for a few minutes, you got a short-term engagement of 2 months.
Right.
If you're waiting on your spouse during those 2 months to be one with that spouse, you appreciate the covenant bond of marriage the night of your marriage. More so than if you didn't wait.
Exactly.
You don't appreciate stuff you don't have to wait on.
Absolutely.
And so what God is, what Advent, now, we celebrate Advent season, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jesus already come.
Right.
We're waiting on another Advent as Christians.
Right, yes,
the second coming.
That's right. Yeah.
Or we're Advent in another way now. So, but the truth is, or the custom and the tradition of this is, no, let's get to a place where we enter into a season of anticipation, even though he's already been born, even though he already died, even though he already resurrected. But we do this so that when we get to a day, we're conditioned to celebrate more. We hope unto a day so that when the hope is realized, our celebration reflects a season of hope.
Right, exactly.
And I think that's what's important behind the word hope. I'll not preach. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. But it also progresses down to that second week, and that second pillar is now peace. Because of what you just articulated and shared, Brent, that hope leads us to a place of peace. Which peace? Now we still have this, also that purple candle, but it's also known as the Bethlehem candle, and it reflects Jesus, who is the Prince of Peace, and we know that by what we read in Isaiah 9 and 6.
It's one of his 4 divine titles.
Yes, exactly. The Prince of Peace. But that we have the peace to know that God is with us, and we think about that from understand the sovereignty of God. And again, going back to that, John 1:1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Yeah.
And so understanding that God was before there was a Genesis 1, or even the fall in Genesis 3. We know that there was a John chapter 1, and I think that gives us peace, and that peace that surpasses all understanding of that we recognize that we're anticipating the arrival of Emmanuel.
And when God is with us, fear and peace cannot coexist. So there is no fear in us, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of sound mind. So when God is with us, that's what peace looks like. And there's something I think that's really important about celebrating Advent season, because we are anticipating another arrival, the second coming of Jesus. There isn't going to be a new heavens and a new earth. You know what that's going to look like? Restoration.
That's right, man.
So peace points to restoration.
Right.
So my willingness to enter into a season, to condition my heart to experience when I celebrate something that can only be a peace from God, then stirs my affection and strengthens my spiritual muscles to be able to anticipate and wait on a day in which God will make all things new again. So peace, I think, points to restoration.
Yeah, man, that's so good. Man, I love that. And so then, Brent, as we go to joy, joy, and this is the pink candle, which is the shepherd's candle, and what is the joy that we're talking about in this particular week as we're reflecting the joy of the birth of the Messiah, and even just thinking about that process, there of knowing, man, the joy that's centered around once Mary understood that not only, as the archangel Gabriel shared with her that she was blessed and highly favored, but that she was bringing into the world the Messiah, man, and that we think about as we get ready to celebrate the Christmas season, the joy is not about the gifts that are around the tree. The joy that we should have is about the birth that happened in the manger, the birth of this baby. And so this particular week is the week that we really kind of have that joy as we celebrate or think about the joy of the Prince of Peace actually being born.
Yeah.
And I think, man, if you don't have joy in your heart of knowing that now it's the manifestation of what the prophecy was, now we're seeing the manifestation of the prophecy of hey, now the Messiah is here. And so this particular week, that pink candle, the shepherd's candle, is all about the joy that comes from the birth of Jesus.
And then the fourth week, the emphasis is love. And this, again, as we walk through these, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this idea of a tradition.
Yes.
You may have an Advent devotional that has a little bit of a different slant on all this, that takes a different approach. The point is that there is a season that revolves around anticipating, celebrating the birth of Jesus. And so, but the fourth one traditionally is love. And this is really this is the idea that he who knew no sin became sin for us so that we might become the righteousness of God. Yeah. What does the love of God look like? 2 Corinthians 5:21. He who knew no sin became sin for us so that we might become the righteousness of God in him. And so this is, when God loves me, God makes me new.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what 1 John 4:10 says this: love consists in this, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son to be the atoning sacrifice for our sins. Yeah. That is what the ultimate love is like. Yeah. That not that necessarily we loved him first, but in actuality, he loved us in our sinful nature, and that by sending his son to atone for our sins, that is the ultimate show and display of love. And so we end with this, with recognizing that we get into the Christmas season, the birth of this baby Jesus is the symbolization of the love that God had for each
He became one of us. He became one of us.
Yeah.
So that he could save all of us.
Yeah, man. So good, so good. Well, man, listen, that was good. That's Advent. That's Advent. So maybe next week we'll do it. We'll talk about some practical ways, and that we'll do that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I promise I won't talk about meeting anybody at Wawa next week.
What you're gonna do?
That was good. I had to recover. It took me a minute. You got me on that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like my brother said, this is one of many ways that you can celebrate Advent. I think for us in this conversation, we just want to really just kind of acknowledge the sacredness of this season that we're approaching, or actually that we're in the midst of this Advent season, and the significance of it. And so next week we'll talk more about some practical ways. But until next week, God bless you. Make sure also you want to like it, share it, do all those
things, but wander well and shine like stars.
God bless.